Sit still for a moment and listen. What can you hear? Maybe it's the squeaking of the chair, or the tapping of your foot, or the heavy breaths of the person sitting next to you. Deaf people wouldn't have been able to hear any of that. According to World Health Organization, there are about 278 million people worldwide with moderate to profound hearing loss in both ears. Many of these are young people. You may be deaf or hard of hearing, or you may know someone who is. Personally, my cousin Hayden was born deaf in both ears, and he has been one of my best friends my whole entire life. Although a small portion of the population has hearing loss, it is still important to be well versed in this struggle. I will first be talking about the types, causes, and signs of deafness. Second, sign language and lip reading. And third, technology and the future for deafness. So let's get started with the disability that affects these people. Deafness is different for everyone. There are different problems, causes, and signs of deafness. There's temporary or permanent deafness. Temporary deafness is sometimes caused by earwax or some sort of blockage causing sound waves not to reach the inner ear. Or there's also permanent deafness where the nerves in the inner ear could be damaged, and sadly there's nothing to do about this deafness. According to Med Broadcast, deafness and hearing loss have many causes and can occur at any age. People can go deaf suddenly as a complication of a virus or lose their hearing over time because of disease, nerve damage, or injury caused by noise. The most common type of deafness is conductive deafness, and this is usually caused by a blockage in the inner ear, and that causes the sound waves not to reach the inner ear. And this can be caused by noise or fluid buildup. There's also nerve damage, osteosclerosis, and damaging noise that can cause deafness. According to Explaining Deafness by Sarah Levette, you cannot usually tell if someone is deaf or hard of hearing just by looking at them. A person who is deaf looks just like anyone else. In children, you may be able to tell if they are deaf if they are maturing slower, if they are asking questions to be repeated often, or if they try to isolate themselves from other children. There's also audiograms to tell if a person is deaf, and one audiogram is where they put on headphones and they listen to a series of beeps, and every time they hear a beep, they press a button. Once a person with hearing loss is diagnosed, there needs to be measures taken so they're able to communicate with others. Some of the time, this would be sign language or lip reading. When my cousin was little, he used sign language as his main form of communication. Now that he's older, he uses lip reading and his cochlear implants more often. Sign language is the language of movement. According to doctors at Desert Hand and Physical Therapy, there are different sign languages in different countries. Sign language over time has developed naturally out of groups of people interacting with each other, just like with the spoken language. There are over 500,000 people in the country who speak with ASL, or also known as American Sign Language. When you speak, the shape of your lips and tongue changes, and that helps a deaf person be able to read your lips. You are able to tell when a deaf person is reading your lips because they won't be making direct eye contact with you. They will be staring directly at your lips. Sign language and lip reading are ways that deaf people have communicated for years. Now, there are technology advances to help them even more. According to Explaining Deafness, scientists are constantly developing new forms of technology that make it easier for deaf people to communicate with each other and with hearing people. The internet and other innovations have also increased the opportunities for communication. We live in a world dominated by sound, and it can be hard for a person who is deaf to be active in that type of world. Let's say there is an alarm sounding, and a person who has trouble hearing will not be able to hear that alarm. So there needs to be a light flashing along with that alarm to allow the deaf person to see that it's happening. And let's say, for example, that's a fire alarm. There are also special telephones that help a person communicate, and the special telephone turns the other speaker's words into beeps, and then those beeps are then relayed to a printer or a word processor, which causes the deaf person to be able to just read what the person is saying. Scientists are constantly investigating and discovering new treatments. One of them is that they insert an auditory brainstem implant, and that allows the deaf person to be able to hear certain frequencies. They're also tracking genetic deafness, and they're trying to reverse this disability. As you can see, people in the deaf community still have plenty of advancements coming their way. In conclusion, I first talked about the types, causes, and signs of deafness. Second, I talked about sign language and lip reading. And finally, I talked about technology and the future for deafness. Although a small portion of the population has hearing loss, it is still important to be well versed in this struggle. People with deafness are just like you and me. My cousin Hayden is still one of my best friends, and even though he has to accommodate for this world that relies on sound for everything. Thank you.